Embers of Love. The smell of smoke clung to Aiden Rivers like a second skin. It was a constant reminder of the life he led, running into flames while others fled. He thrived on the adrenaline, the rush of saving lives, and the fleeting moments of recognition that came with being a firefighter. Yet, when he stripped away the gear and the facade, Aiden was left with an emptiness he couldn't extinguish. That emptiness, however, started to shift the day he met Clara Monroe. The first encounter. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when Aiden first saw her. He had been called to an apartment fire downtown, the kind caused by an unattended candle left too close to a stack of books. The blaze had already claimed half the unit, but everyone had been evacuated safely, everyone except for Clara. She had gone back into the building, ignoring the firefighters' warnings, desperate to save a small wooden box. Aiden found her in the thick of the smoke, coughing and clutching the box as though it were a lifeline. "Are you trying to kill yourself?" he barked, lifting her effortlessly over his shoulder. "Put me down," she protested, her voice hoarse but fierce. "Not a chance." He carried her out, the heat licking at their heels. When they reached the safety of the street, Clara's grip on the box loosened, and she collapsed into a fit of coughs. Aiden knelt beside her, his hand on her back, steadying her. "What were you thinking?" he asked, his voice softer now. Her eyes, red-rimmed and glistening with tears, met his. "It's all I have left." In that moment, something in Aiden shifted. Her vulnerability cracked open a part of him he had long kept sealed. Building bridges. In the weeks that followed, their paths crossed again and again. Clara was staying at a temporary shelter while her apartment was repaired, and Aiden, ever the hero, found excuses to check on her. At first, it was to make sure she was recovering, but soon, it became about more than duty. Clara, a talented ceramic artist, had lost not just her home but also her studio in the fire. The wooden box she had risked her life for contained keepsakes from her late husband, who had passed away 2 years earlier in a car accident. "I'm sorry for your loss," Aiden said one evening as they sat on the steps of the shelter, the city's lights twinkling around them. "Thank you," Clara replied, her voice quiet. "I thought I was finally moving forward. But now, it feels like I've lost him all over again." Aiden nodded, understanding more than he let on. "Loss doesn't go away. It just changes shape." She looked at him, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Have you lost someone?" "My parents," he admitted. "House fire when I was 12. That's why I became a firefighter." The vulnerability in his tone surprised even him. He had spent years burying that pain under layers of bravado, but with Clara, it felt safe to let some of it out. Embers of connection. As the weeks turned into months, their connection deepened. Aiden found himself drawn to Clara's resilience, her ability to find beauty in broken things. She, in turn, was captivated by his strength and the kindness he tried so hard to hide behind his tough exterior. One evening, Aiden invited her to a charity gala hosted by the fire department. Clara hesitated at first, but Aiden's earnestness won her over. "You saved my life," she said with a small smile. "The least I can do is be your date." At the gala, Clara dazzled in a simple yet elegant dress, her presence commanding attention. Aiden, usually unfazed by crowds, found himself nervous under her gaze. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice low as they shared a dance. "Thank you for asking," she replied, her eyes shining. For the first time in years, Aiden felt a spark of hope, not the fleeting thrill of a rescue, but the steady warmth of something real. The inferno. Their budding relationship was tested on a chilly winter night. Aiden's team responded to a massive fire at an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. Clara, who had been spending more time at his place, stayed up late waiting for him to return. When Aiden didn't come back by dawn, she called the station, only to learn that he was trapped inside the building with 2 other firefighters. Clara's heart sank. Memories of losing her husband resurfaced, threatening to drown her in fear. But this time, she refused to be a passive observer. She drove to the scene, ignoring the warnings of the police to stay back. Inside the factory, Aiden was battling both the flames and his own limitations. A collapsed beam had pinned his leg, and his air supply was running low. His teammates had managed to get out, but he was stuck, the heat and smoke closing in. He thought of Clara and the life they had barely begun to build together. The thought gave him strength. When the rescue team finally reached him, Aiden was barely conscious. As they carried him out, his first thought was of Clara. He scanned the crowd until he saw her, her face streaked with tears and worry. "You're here," he murmured, his voice weak but filled with relief. "Of course I'm here," she replied, her voice breaking. "I'm not losing you too." Healing together. Aiden's recovery was slow, but Clara was by his side every step of the way. She brought him homemade meals, kept him company during physical therapy, and even helped him confront the emotional scars he had long ignored. "You don't have to be a hero all the time," she told him one evening as they sat on his couch, her hand resting on his. "I don't know how to be anything else," he admitted. "You're enough just as you are, Aiden. You don't have to save the world to be worthy of love." Her words hit him like a fire hose to the soul, dousing years of self-doubt. A new chapter. As the seasons changed, so did their lives. Clara rebuilt her studio, finding joy in her art once more. Aiden returned to the firehouse, but with a newfound perspective. He no longer sought fulfillment solely in his work. He had found it in the quiet moments with Clara. One spring afternoon, Aiden surprised her with a visit to a local gallery. "What's this?" she asked as they walked inside. "Your new exhibition," he said with a grin. Clara's jaw dropped as she saw her pieces displayed throughout the room, each one labeled with a small card bearing her name. "Aiden, how did you—" "I called in a few favors," he said, shrugging. "You deserve this, Clara." Tears filled her eyes as she threw her arms around him. "You're unbelievable." "No," he replied, his voice soft. "You're the unbelievable one, the spark that lasts." As they stood together in the gallery, surrounded by the beauty Clara had created, Aiden realized that the fire he had been chasing all his life wasn't in the blaze of a building or the thrill of a rescue. It was here, in her eyes, in their shared laughter, in the life they were building together. For the first time in years, he felt truly at peace, knowing that some embers never fade, they only grow stronger with time.